So, Global All-Stars just ended, and oh boy, I have something to say about it. This season wasn't very good, for viewers that is. For content creators, this season was a goldmine. The problems of this season were in no means new to the Drag Race franchise. But in this season, they were so obvious that everybody noticed it. The biggest problem of the season was mistreatment. And let me tell you, everybody was mistreated. The queens were mistreated, the fans, the season as a whole, and the countries who were not included too. I'm going to talk about how the queens were mistreated a little bit later. But how were the fans mistreated? Well, by not putting any more effort into a season of this scale. This was the first global All-Stars that we got, and I don't think production very put a lot of effort into this season. The producers that usually do the regular seasons and the All-Star season were not involved in it, and there was also not a lot of promotion for that season as a whole. I think also the lack of additional content like a pit stop was very noticeable. Angeria Paris Van Michaels, the winner of the most recent All-Star season, was right there. She is watching all the seasons. Why was she not doing it? Well, probably because nobody asked her to do it in the first place, but they should have. Also, the non-representation of the franchises of España, Holland and Thailand were very strange to me. And I know, there was allegedly a Thailand queen who was asked to be on the season but then couldn't do it because fans ruined it for her or something like that. While the Holland and España franchises do kind of their own thing right now. But they still should have been asked. Now, none of what I previously said is anything new to the conversation. Like, everybody has already talked about those topics. The reason why I woke out of my slumber to make a new video was not because I want to reinforce those things. I have something else to say that I did not see anyone talk about yet. And that topic is what I like to call franchise elitism. I felt like the queens were judged not only on their performance on Global All-Stars, but also kind of by the franchise they were attached to, if that makes sense. I will explain what I mean in more detail going queen by queen. Athena Leakes. Athena Leakes was eliminated first in a design challenge. I did not think she deserved that bottom placement. I think somebody else deserved that bottom placement, but that someone had to be protected a little more for storyline purposes. To me, it was not a big surprise that the first queen eliminated came from the franchise with the least viewers. And that especially hurt because she was basically sacrificed to protect one of the more popular franchise queens. To be honest, that felt very calculated, and that was the very first red flag and the first taste of what's about to come. I liked Athena. I think her fashion was gorgeous. Her finale gown was very cool. I would have loved to see more from her, but, well, that's just how it went, I guess. Miranda LeBrow. Miranda being eliminated second was also not a big surprise for me. One of the first things we learned about her is that she has some health issue that hinders her in her performance and doing drag in general. As far as I understood it, that does not hinder her much, but it was still highlighted a lot by production, which was a bit of foreshadowing. Her fashion was also misunderstood, on purpose, mind you, and it just really felt wrong and cheap that the queen who mentioned that she had some health issue to go home second. I really did not like that. I really didn't. Eva the Queen. Eva was eliminated third. And she at least got one moment where she could shine when she had a sword fight with a Mega Charizard in episode 2. With Drag Race Thailand not being there, Eva was the only Asian queen who was represented on Global All-Stars. That was never mentioned though, at least as far as I can remember. Which is a little funny that the franchise, who always puts a lot of emphasis on somebody in the cast being the only something or the first something, they never mention that there's only one Asian queen or the first Asian queen since that many seasons. Like, they just never talk about that for some reason. Even with Nymphia Wind winning this year, Asian queens have always been a little bit mistreated and overlooked. Whenever there's an Asian queen in the cast of Drag Race, chances are very high that she's eliminated within the first half. Which doesn't mean that those eliminations were unfair, but it is a strange pattern that makes me at least uncomfortable. Soa the Muse. Soa the Muse is a very funny case because she wasn't treated very well while she was competing, but she was treated very well after she was eliminated. While she was still competing, Soa often got the critiques that she has to improve her makeup skills. And that wasn't really her own storyline. That was Queen Kong's, and that she's a good mother to Soa, and that she helped her so much that they can finally see the star that she is. It rubbed me the wrong way, to be honest. Like, she deserved better than that. And she received better than that much later when she won the Lollapalooza, which could have gone to another queen too, but that's that for that. And then she also won Miss Congeniality an episode later and got 2 mega cash prizes, which good for her, but now only 2 queens got cash prizes this season? I think they should have spread that out a little more. But yeah, Soa got compensation for being portrayed as needing Queen Kong's help to succeed. Good for her, I guess. Gala Varro. Gala Varro is by far the most mistreated queen of the season. She was never rewarded when she did excellent jobs. She was put in lower positions than she deserved, and she was used as a lip-sync assassin to get rid of queens. In my opinion, the Lollapalooza should have gone to her, not gonna lie. I don't know why they just did not like her, because it really felt like they didn't like her, and that was the reason why she was not giving anything. This case, more than any other case, just makes me angry, because this is not something new for Drag Race. Queens from the Latin parts of the world were always treated worse than they should have, and they are only ever appreciated if they lean into the stereotype of spicy Latina and doing the escandalo thing, but also not all the time, because then they would be using it as a crutch. And please, don't come into my comments mentioning Valentina as a counter-argument. You know that that's not the same thing. Pythia. I think it was pretty clear that Pythia wouldn't survive a lip sync and therefore she wouldn't be in the finals, but all in all, her run was pretty okay. She got her win in a design challenge and she got to shine on the runway every single week. I know a lot of people say that she should have been in the winning team for the acting challenge, which I agree with, and that she should have also won Snatch Game, which I don't necessarily agree with, but I can see why people think that. I will touch on the Snatch Game in the later segment, because that thing deserves a whole segment dedicated to the problems that episode brought. But a little preview, no, I don't think Pythia's high placement was unfair. I think it was correct. Vanity Vane. Just like Gala Varro, Vanity Vane was in the bottom 2 a lot, and some of those bottom 2 placements were not deserved at all. Vanity was in her head a lot that season, and I think if she didn't believe herself that she was worthy of that bottom placement, she wouldn't have been there that much. She felt very defeated at some times in the competition, and I have to commend her that she never gave up and always gave her all in the lip syncs. I believe she was mistreated in the way that they feel like they always have to have an inner saboteur queen, that they have to showcase a nice queen who is in her own way and who needs the pep talk of RuPaul so they can have that feel-good moment of them being the heroes who pull out the potential of a certain queen. Like, they love to do that. They love to be the heroes. But at least she had her moment to shine, unlike Calavaro, in her first episode with the talent show and also in her amazing lip syncs. Tessa T. I was very proud watching Tessa this season. Tessa came from Drag Race Germany, which is the franchise that I watched with the most excitement since that was the season where queens from my own city took part in. Unlike every other queen on that season, Tessa did not have a great showing on her first season, but that only meant that she had a setup for a redemption story laid out for her. And I think she succeeded in having a redemption in every way she could think of. She got a challenge win, she got high placements, she got all the way to the final episode before the finale, which means she was in every single episode, just like the finalists. Her outfits were great, her personality shined through, she was appreciated by the judges, and she also got an emotional moment with RuPaul herself, which is what not a lot of queens get to have. I really hoped that she would make it to the finals, but after seeing her being misfamed for the last 3 episodes, I knew her time was up. But she still emerged as one of the biggest winners of the season, in my opinion. I really hope she's going to be Tessa Edwards from now on. She deserves that. Now, before we start to talk about the Final Four, we need to have a little talk about the topic of bullying. A lot of fans were under the impression that the Italian contestant Nelly was bullied by Queen Kong and Kitty Scott Claus respectively this season. I think those queens had arguments with each other. I think those queens had maybe some issues with each other, but I don't think that bullying was the thing that was happening there. The bullying that I want to talk about is the bullying that comes from the fandom, because that is very real. A lot of you fans need to stop attacking queens online. I believe that a lot of fans think that it's a school hallway kind of situation where jocks are pushing the nerd against the locker, and then there is a hero stepping in, stopping the bullies and being the good guy of the situation. And let me tell you, that's not what's happening here. You are not the hero coming for the defense of Nelania when you go into the comment sections and wish all the bad things to Kitty and Queen. When in reality, that's more like intervening in an argument between friends about which ice cream is the best and screaming that how dare you not think that vanilla is the right and best and supreme ice cream, and also go die, you idiot. Like, are you not seeing this? Those people are providing content for you, and you have nothing better to do than go into their business and wishing them ill just for having an argument with each other. Like, come on, those are adults. They can solve those issues themselves. If that makes you not being a fan of someone, that's fine. But you need to stop the nasty behavior online. Okay, let's move on. Kitty Scott Claus. Kitty received a lot of favoritism this season. She was saved from the bottom a lot, she was never critiqued on her bad outfits, and she was giving wins that she shouldn't have received. But having said that, Kitty did a lot of good things this season too. I think the Snatch Game was hers. I believe nobody else should have won it, end of discussion. A lot of people tend to forget that Snatch Game is about celebrity impersonation, and as much as I liked Pythia's Zeus, that's a fictional character. You're not impersonating anyone, you're inventing somebody. So yeah, Kitty deserved that win, and in the other cases where she won, a high placement would have been more accurate. But yeah, she was good in that challenges, and she did great in the season. But she should have been critiqued more. especially in those cases when she won while she was wearing a bad outfit. Because I do think that fans would have been less harsh on her if she also got her fair share of negative critiques from time to time. Let's move on. Queen Kong. So Queen Kong did very well that season. She only ever had one episode where she had a bad showing, that being the infomercial one. In my opinion, Queen Kong was the second best competitor on that season. There's one other queen who had a little bit better of a showing, but we'll get to her. Queen was mistreated by the fans a lot, and I think it was not warranted. For me, all her remarks were being just, shady and funny, but there was one moment that did not set right with me. I think you all know what I'm talking about. It's about the makeover episode. And I do believe that that was just very poor timing and nothing more. If she hadn't already won 3 episodes, and if that wasn't the episode that Nelly was about to get her first win, I think that comment would have been received very differently. So please get off Queen's back. It was bad timing. She apologized. She's not a bad person for that. Let's move on. Nelly. Okay, now let's talk about the Queen everybody wanted to win. The amount of support and people wanting her to win before the finale was kinda crazy. Everybody agreed that she was being underestimated, underappreciated even, and people rallied behind her whenever it felt like she was not being liked by the other queens, especially Quitty. Shipping name of Kitty and Queen, Quitty. A lot of people, me included, think that she should have won more challenges, and I think everybody also agreed that the margarita pizza thing was so... Blech. I am sad that she didn't win. I think it would have been a very good thing to the show to crown her, because that would have appeased the fans and maybe guaranteed a second season more than Alyssa winning. But being a robbed queen can do wonders for your career. Nelly now is the first robbed queen on a global scale, which is crazy, to be honest. I am still very glad that she got so much love from all over the world. Alyssa Edwards. So Alyssa won Global All-Stars, and I am fine with it. Alyssa was being kind of a motherly figure this season. She came across as a sage personality. She was not involved in a lot of fights nor storylines, except the storyline with Tessa wanting to come into the House of Edwards. She was kind of muted, like her personality that we know and love was still there, but it was not that extreme and theatrical. She was kind of zen, if that makes sense, and I am glad for her that she finally got that crown that Kokomon Tree stole from her. But yeah, Alyssa's presence this season made sense. She was there to lure in fans. She was the only queen who got proper press. And I think she will do great things with the money. I think she kind of lucked out in a bit, in the sense that out of the top 4, 2 queens were despised by the fandom, and the third queen was an international queen who RuPaul does not seem to give as much fucks about. Sorry. All in all, Alyssa was a safe choice. I think everybody is at least okay with it, even though most wanted Nelly to win, but Alyssa winning also brings a lot of problems with it. And here we have to speak about franchise elitism. What I mean is that the English franchises are watched the most. Drag Race US and Drag Race UK are the biggest 2, followed by Canada, and Down Under is not that big, but it's still judged by RuPaul, so they get a lot of attention, they get a lot of traffic. Most content creators talk only about those 4, with maybe sometimes France, España, or the Philippines sprinkled in here or there, but the other franchises do not get that much attention. And less attention also means less budget. And I know that some of the smaller franchises have their issues, but so does the main franchise. The difference is, if the main franchise is flawed, people will critique it but still watch the next season. The smaller franchises do not get a second chance most of the time. For example, the Italian franchise and the Down Under franchise had a very bad first season. One of those franchises was just deemed a bad franchise after that, and people just stopped watching it, while the other one got a second chance. Also, other franchises got dropped after they stepped out of line a little bit. Holland was cancelled for being bad. España was dropped after the third season not being up to par with the first two stellar ones, and everybody forgot that Thailand even existed up until Pangina Heels went in UK vs. the World. Some of the newer franchises don't even get a first chance, like Germany did not do a bad job with its first season, but nobody gave a fuck about it. And then there are the Versus the World franchises, which are dominated by the UK queens and the Canadian queens, while the US queens that go on Global All-Stars are already on their third chance, and then there is some spots left for international queens, I guess. The Canada Versus the World series managed to only get one queen that wasn't from an English-speaking season that far, and that was a first out. All those facts are not lost on either the fans nor the queens themselves. All those things that I mentioned, combined with the fact that the Ru girls especially and the English-speaking queens get that much more attention, creates a false narrative. And that narrative is that English-speaking queens are just better at Drag Race, which is also helped by the fact that of the Versus the World franchises and the Global All-Stars franchise, there is not a single queen who won thus far, who is not from an English-speaking country. That narrative needs to change, the franchise needs to change, the judging needs to change. I want more international seasons. I want more exposure for the queens who are not from a big franchise. I want them to be able to show themselves to an international audience, and I want them to be able to shine and not be held back by the fact that the Ru girls and the English-speaking queens are favored. You can still give Ru girls their flowers while also lifting up the queens who didn't have a chance to get international attention yet. That's possible. That was even possible in this season. And also finally, RuPaul's humor is not helping at all. I mentioned earlier that I want to talk about the Snatch Game and the problems that come with that challenge for international season. Oh boy, let's get into it. So what does RuPaul think is funny, and what does RuPaul want to hear from the international queens when they're doing Snatch Game? She wants Italian food-related jokes from Nelly. She wants a telenovela character from Gala. She wants a Swedish chef impersonation from Vanity, and she's very confused while Pythia not doing a Greek or a Canadian character and proposing that she wants to do a German character, that being Arnold Schwarzenegger. That's nothing new, of course. RuPaul always liked when people are bringing their culture and their accent and food-related jokes from their countries into her competition. The earliest instance of something like that happening and being rewarded was Manila doing a stereotypical Asian character in an interview chair for season 3. The thing is, that was not prompted by RuPaul. That was Manila herself. And that is fine. That's totally fine. As if you choose to do that, because you know RuPaul thinks that's funny, then go for it. Get that coin, get that challenge win. It's only a smart thing to do. But I don't think it's okay for RuPaul to go around the workroom telling queens that a more stereotypical character related to their culture just works better for them for a Snatch Game performance than what they've already planned. So, here are some suggestions for the next season of Global All-Stars, because I want another season and I want it to be better. Cut all the US American guest judges, keep RuPaul and Michelle if you need to, but everybody else needs to stop coming. Stop favoring the queens with the biggest following and start giving the other queens a little more wins. Stop forcing margarita pizza or similar jokes on queens. And also cast Meta Market as the next representative of Drag Race Germany. Bye!